episode of Bestie Energy.
Welcome,
I'm Clark.
I'm Alana.
And this is Bestie Energy, like we already said.
Bum, bum, bum. Oh my goodness. So Clark and I were just I was pulling up my story actually, because I was going to share my story to Clark. Mm-hmm. And we actually had this whole conversation where we were like, oh, hopefully we don't choose the same person. We've been talking about this forever. Yeah. Like, we knew this was going to come.
We have twin psychic brain, even though we're not twins.
We always choose somebody like really close when we like tell our stories.
Yeah, they're always very similar. And when we get, and for context, when we get together to record, we always record 2 episodes at once.
Right.
And so I tell a story and she tells a story, and they're always kind of on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
And today we chose the same person.
We did. I was so mad, and so is she. But I literally brought up my laptop, and Clark looks over at mine and she goes, no, when she sees the name of the person I'm doing. And she's like, are you kidding me? And I'm like, there's no way. You did the same person?
And she's not even like an insanely famous person.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, how did we do the same person? But hopefully
crazy.
You guys have not heard of her. Or if you have, hopefully you will learn something about her today that you didn't know.
She's really cool.
She is really cool.
So we're just going to kind of, I guess, tell the story together. Because I'm not going to pretend to react to something I already know about.
Yeah.
But and then I'm going to find a new story and we'll record that at another time. I guess I should just prepare 2 stories for each time we meet. And then,
or we could just say the name of the person to each other that we're doing without like looking it up. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Because I'm just, okay.
But anyway, wait, before we get going, if you're listening to this on Spotify and you would like to get more episodes, get episodes early and ad-free, and get a bonus episode every month, and also a live with me and Alana, then please go and join our Patreon. It is $10.99 a month, I think. And it's great.
It is great. It's a fun time there.
It is. It's a fun time.
We actually like react to comments and stuff you guys can put on there too. So
we have a whole community. If you join the Patreon, you get access to our Discord thing as well, which is cool. It's a good time.
Yeah. Yeah, so
that was not my best spiel,
but
the spiel. Definitely go join. It's fun.
Okay, so the person that we're talking about today is named Elizabeth Jane Cochran, I believe, but she's more known for her pen name Nellie Bly.
Nellie Bly. That just sounds so badass.
It is, yeah. That was her pen name because she actually was like, I don't know if she was the first or one of the first investigative journalists. She was like, what? Like, that wasn't a thing.
She wasn't the first investigative journalist, I don't think, from what I read, but she definitely was one of the first women that was a serious journalist.
Yes, absolutely. She had like several instances of people trying to put her in different like unserious roles. And she was like, no, I want to take this seriously. I want to like report on real world situations that are affecting people, which is incredible.
She was unstoppable. Yes. And she really would go like the extra mile to get a story.
Right.
It was amazing.
Yeah. So, okay. She was born on May 5th, 1864, a fellow Taurus.
Bad time to be born.
Definitely a bad time to be born. I'm all, she's a Taurus. You're all bad time.
No, not the month.
No, I know your year. I know you're talking about the year, 1864. So.
It's interesting. We've had a lot of really interesting people who were born right around that time.
No, I was going to bring up after doing the podcast, and like, I think we just are kind of drawn to, not reporting, but like researching women, I think, just because
we're women.
Because we're women, but absolutely. So I'm like noticing, I don't know, for some reason growing up, I always thought like women's reform really started in like the 1920s, and so like really researching this, it started so much further before that.
Oh yeah.
Like, and the women in the 1800s too, like, and even before that, they were doing so much.
Well, and the thing is that, and it's something I think we don't think about very much, but technology allows people to come together in ways that they weren't able to before. So there were absolutely women's movements again and again and again throughout history.
Right.
But I think, in the 20s, we're able to call each other. I think they had, telegrams and letters and, it was easier to organize.
No, that's so true. And it's like, think about how much history has been erased, especially for women.
Oh
my goodness.
Like, if you haven't listened to our episode about, I already forgot her name, but the one from the Revolution, the French Revolution.
Claire Lacombe.
Yeah, Claire Lacombe.
That was your story.
I know it was. I'm bad with names. But yeah, no, with Claire Lacombe, like she's painted as this, radical, and
Right.
it was, she was terrible and all this stuff. And I'm like, but how much of that is revisionist history?
Isn't that so true? Because it's either like it could be erased or rewritten.
Mhm.
That's so
And how
true.
often
Yeah.
do we see that it's like, that woman was just crazy?
So true. Mentally ill.
Yeah.
Or like how often did we see, this is so off topic, but like women who were dealing with like postpartum depression were
Yeah.
put as that, they're just crazy.
No, and so often
Oh,
it's if
gosh.
a woman is
Yeah.
anything other than quiet and sitting in a corner, she's
Yeah.
crazy.
Insane.
It is.
So yeah, that's kind of that. We're in the 1800s, you guys.
And
That's
it's
where
not
we're at
totally
again.
off topic to talk about women being deemed crazy.
It's not. You're right.
It's not totally
That
off
is-
topic.
There's a couple things that Nellie Bly is known for, but yeah, we'll kind of get
Yeah.
into that. She did so many incredible things.
She
So
did.
her mom was named Mary Jane. Her father was named Michael. They both had been previously married. Michael actually had 10 children with his previous wife.
Damn.
Yeah. Mary Jane had
Ugh.
none. But
Lord have mercy.
yeah, both of their original spouses had passed. So they actually got married
Oh.
after that together, and they had 5 kids together. So now Michael has
Damn.
15 kids to get total. Michael.
My good sir.
My good sir.
My good sir.
Well, he did have the money to support them though. So he started as a mill worker, and then
Mhm.
he quickly became the owner of the mill, and then he became an honorable judge and landowner. So he started making money.
I wonder what it was like to live in a country that was like that. Like you could work at the mill and
No.
then own the mill.
No, there's people that we've talked about who was it? Amelia Bloomer, where she's like working at the post office too. And I
Mhm.
forget what her actual label was there, but
I
it was
forgot too.
something that was like, it sounds so official. And it's like they could kind of just jump between, now I'm working at the post office. And her husband was like working at the fire department and just stuff like that. It
Mhm.
was so interesting.
No, and it's crazy. And you could support your family.
Oh, right. That's where you were going with that.
Well,
Yeah.
no, that, and then it's like he was a mill worker and he was
Right.
able to save enough money to buy the mill.
To
Like,
become the owner.
what's that like?
Yeah. That's so true.
That's cool, though.
So yeah, he ends up becoming a landowner. He's a very honorable judge. Everybody knows him in the
He's
town.
a very honorable.
Very
judge.
honorable. Yeah, actually okay. We'll just take a second then.
No, it's just that. It's that with judges, it's like,
Right, you know.
like, it's the honorable judge, so it's just funny the way you were like, he was very honorable.
Okay, thank you for pointing that out.
It is funny,
but
sorry, it made me laugh.
Okay, well, he was a very what's another word we could
He was
use
a
for that?
judge. He was a good judge.
He was a
I
good
don't
judge
know.
that people knew and liked. He became the founder of the town that Elizabeth was actually born and raised in. Did you know that?
How you do that? How you just be like, I'm starting a town?
This is my town. It was named after him because so many people like knew him and were fond of him, pretty much.
I would like to start a
Yeah.
town. Let's go do that.
So yeah, this is his town. It was Cochrane Mills, Pennsylvania.
Cochrane's Mills, Pennsylvania.
Cochrane's Mills, Pennsylvania. Originally was Pitts Mills.
Ew,
That's awful.
terrible.
But now it's a part of Burrell Township in Armstrong County. So
You know, I feel like Pennsylvania sounds like an Intravania place. An interesting place.
whoa, yeah. I was like, did you just do what I do?
I don't
make up
know
a
what just
word.
happened. But no, we should go there sometime. It sounds interesting.
Yeah. So again, as a judge, he was very respected, and the town was named after him in 1855, and that's when his term as a judge actually ended. And his family was very well provided for. So growing up, initially, Elizabeth had like a pretty good start.
Nice.
Unfortunately, though, at the age of 6 in 1870, her dad passed away. I wasn't able to find a cause of his death. He was in his early 60s, so I'm not too
So
sure.
it's probably pretty natural because, I mean,
Yeah.
back then it's not like we had these hugely high life expectancies.
Right? I was like, is it early 60s? So that's not very old, but still.
I mean,
for the
back
time
then a
period.
flu could take
Right?
you out. You know what I
Seriously.
mean? So
Yeah.
who knows?
So, okay. This man, I like how I wrote this note too. This man was like the first judge in the area, and he did not finalize a will for his family.
Sir! Sir!
Oh my gosh. Reading this was so
Okay.
frustrating. Okay. So that's what was reported. There wasn't a finalized will. So his like wealth was pretty much divided between his like 15 kids.
Goddamn.
So there wasn't a lot left for Elizabeth's family at the end of it, is what was reported.
But if it went to each of the 15 kids, then didn't she get some? And
She did, right? Yeah.
So it's
she
like
did.
among the children that are there.
It was
so I
among
don't
the
get it.
children. I don't get it really either, because the report that I read multiple articles. One of the articles was like, he didn't finalize a will for the family, so that left the family like in horrible financial circumstances. And then the other report that I read was like the wealth was divided between all of his children, but it still left a very small amount or even none to
Well, and I
the
wonder,
mother.
with him being like the founder of the town, I wonder if there were like financial obligations and stuff that they didn't know how to handle, and maybe it was just kind of automatically taken. Who knows?
But either way, following his death, it led to a really big struggle for Elizabeth's family, because she was left with her mom, and she either got a very little bit or none. Really.
See, and I didn't even find this part when I was researching her. It just said that like her dad died and they were financially destitute, and I didn't even get all of this about how him finding a town and founding a town. And
it's interesting. So immense financial struggles for them. Mary Jane did remarry, but then she got divorced because there was abuse. I don't really know a lot about that, but there's not a lot of information.
It's surprising that she was able to get divorced.
Right? I know.
So it must have been bad.
Yeah, that's so true. There's not a lot of information that I found, at least, between like Elizabeth's early life right now and her like early adult life, like when she's like 15. So I didn't find too much, but she did end up like wanting to support her family. So she, at 15, went to study at college. She went to the Indiana Normal College. And
Normal College.
Yeah, there's a place called Normal, but isn't that in Illinois? There's like a city called Normal.
So funny. Indiana Normal College.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I know, dude. That's funny.
We're all normal here.
We're at the Normal College.
We do be normal.
And she actually added an E to the end of her name to sound like more distinguished.
Mm-hmm.
So Cochrane, I think, is what it was pronounced as.
That's interesting.
But she stayed at college for a year and a half and then had to leave because of finances, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Unfortunate, though.
It's hard.
Yeah, and she ended up moving with her mom to a city near Pittsburgh, and she helped her mom run a boarding house.
Oh, that'd be stressful.
Yeah. So she was 18 years old, and she actually read a column that was posted in the Pittsburgh Dispatch.
Yep.
And I read one article reported that
I saw.
Yeah, that it was titled "What Girls Are Good For."
No, but the one that I saw said that it was titled "What Are Girls Good For?"
Ooh, even worse.
What are girls good for? Yeah. And it was supposed to be this like flippant, like it was like this super misogynistic
It was
article.
like stay in your place kind of.
Pretty much. Yeah. And it was supposed to be funny. And they're just like, what are girls even good for?
Yeah. So Elizabeth read this. She's 18 and she gets fired up. She's like, this is not okay.
She was pissed.
She was like, this is not right.
Yeah. No, she was mad.
So she actually decided to respond to this, and she decided to like send a whole, let me see where I said it. I said, in response to this dumbass article, Elizabeth wrote to the editor of the Pittsburgh Dispatch, George Madden, and she signed it "Lonely Orphan Girl."
Oh, well, you know what's funny to me, though, is she really said, she's like, I'm going to write a letter.
She said, "Dear Mr.
Royal Hampton, I am a white woman."
Literally.
If you get the reference, you get the reference. If you don't, it's a movie.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, so yeah, they were saying that also in the article, women who wanted to work were outlandish and they were a threat to society too.
Yeah. I remember reading about that. Like it was basically saying like women shouldn't be working and all this stuff. And she wrote to them and was like, you morons.
Yeah. She's like, are you kidding me?
Are you dumb? Are you stupid?
Literally. I would love to read the response.
I want to find that. I tried to find it too. And I'm just like, well, I want to see what she said.
Right.
Because I feel like she probably put some very passive aggressive lines in it that I want to know.
It was probably so well written too. Just like, because I did read some of her writing later on, and she's really good writer.
She's an incredible writer.
Yeah. But George Madden was actually like pretty intrigued by her response. He's like, wow, a woman who could write. Like,
well, his exact words was that it had a lot of moxie. He was like,
moxie.
Oh, she's got some sass.
Okay, whatever. So he actually reached out to Elizabeth and challenged her to reveal herself because she signed it Lonely Orphan Girl. So he was like, who are you? And she marched into the office to introduce herself.
She did.
She's like, I'm here.
She's like, Elizabeth. Yeah, bitch, I wrote that.
And he actually prompted her to write an article for him that he would review. And he loved it and offered her a job. And it paid $5 weekly.
Yep. So she became a journalist and she accepted.
Isn't that interesting? Like, that's how she started.
Well, and I think it's so funny that she agreed to work with them.
Right? She's like, I hate this article. This is ridiculous. Oh, you like my writing? You want me to work for you?
I wonder if there was a part of her that's like, yeah, let me show you how to turn this place around. You know?
I really think so. So she accepted the job. She actually took the pen name Nellie Bly. I'm going to start referring to her as Nellie just because that's what she's more known as.
Well, and it's easier. Well, and apparently the name Nellie Bly came from like a famous song at the time.
Yes.
It was a really popular song.
Yes. It was like a popular song in Pittsburgh by Stephen Foster. I don't know what the song was, but
let's see if we can find it.
At the time. So, yeah. And when she first started working, at this Pittsburgh Dispatch, she actually went undercover at a factory and she experienced mistreatment, long hours, poor pay, that kind of stuff, and was like already reporting on exposing that, which is pretty cool.
All right. I have found several songs called...
It's called Nellie
Bly, but I don't know if it's the real one because obviously they didn't have like...
Right.
But let's play this. Let's see.
By Stephen Foster?
No, because this was in like the early 1900s.
No, we need the one by Stephen Foster. No, I'm kidding.
I was what? That's not a thing. I'm like, you think they had MP3 files back then? God. All right, let's see here.
Oh, Nellie.
Listen, love, to me. I'll sing for you and play for you.
You're rude. It's kind of cute.
So it made me think of our grandfather.
Right.
That's
me too.
why I laughed.
It sounds like my grandpa.
Oh,
that's my grandpa.
Bring the broom along. We'll sweep the kitchen clean, my dear.
What? Wait, you'll sweep the kitchen clean, my dear Miss Nellie.
I was having fun for a minute.
So she's all, you can't be writing about women staying at home and working, and she's all, I'm gonna name myself after this song.
I was having fun for a minute. Damn. We're just like, Nellie dear, Nellie dear. We're like, yeah,
sweep the kitchen
Excuse
clean, my
me?
dear. What?
What?
Oh
Beg your pardon?
God. Of course. I was probably as good as it got at the time. And I was like,
why is it like this?
I thought it was like a romantic song, like, you know, the like I want to hold your hand or something.
Oh my God, why is it like this? Why are they like this?
Oh my God.
Okay, proceed.
So Nellie Bly, that's where she got her name from.
Why would she choose her name? Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
But maybe that was relatively light for the time.
That's what I just said. Stop stealing everything.
Did you? I totally did not.
I was like, maybe that's as good as it got at the time period. Like that was the nicest it got.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's okay. But anyway,
I feel like I subconsciously heard you and then repeated you without
like,
realizing I heard you say that
for myself.
I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I don't know if you were listening to this because you were looking up the song, but she went undercover at a factory, but she was experiencing mistreatment, long hours, poor pay, as they do at the time, and she was exposing it.
Yes, she totally did that. And she and it was interesting because they wanted her to work on a lot of, because at that point in time, newspapers had what they called the women's pages.
Oh, yes.
And that's what they wanted her to work on.
Yeah.
And she wanted to do investigative journaling.
Exactly.
So like eventually this is why she left this job, is because this is what she wanted to do, and they kept pushing back on her.
100% true.
Mm-hmm.
So it was not well received by the factory owners that she was reporting on it, because like they're like the elite, right? The factory owners. And yeah, the Pittsburgh Dispatch boss, like her boss, was like, you know, trying to not upset the elite, he was like, let's not report about that. How about you go talk about social issues, like women's issues and fashion? And she was like,
so he's like, no, let's not piss off the men with the money.
Literally, he was like, no, don't
She's
report
like,
that.
but these factory workers are being treated horribly. And he's like, yes, and we look the other way.
Yes, we do. We cannot get involved with that. It's none of our business. But yeah, Nellie was like not interested in doing the social call-in that they wanted her to do.
Of course
not. Right. So she actually wanted to travel, and she got an assignment to go to Mexico. And
at that time, it's really important to know Mexico was under a dictator.
That is important to know.
Yeah.
Yes. So she actually got to go to Mexico when she was 21. She went with her mom. And she was reporting like detailed articles back about like Mexican life and culture, but also about the government and criticism.
Well, and like life underneath the dictatorship, which
exactly.
That's some balls.
Yeah. And so,
like I can see going and then coming home and then writing about it. But the fact that she's there and she's just actively writing about it, Babe.
And I think she did that for about 6 months. And
Mm-hmm.
then in fear of, what we just talked about, she did leave because of that.
Well, no, it wasn't just that she was scared and left. They told her they were going to arrest her.
They did?
They
Oh,
essentially
wow.
threw her out of the country.
Wow. I thought she was just fearful that she
No.
was going to be arrested.
They were like,
Wow.
you better get the hell out of here.
Oh, yeah. So I would leave too.
Damn straight.
So yeah, she did leave. She went back to the dispatch, but immediately got bored again because they were like, go back to the society page. And she was like,
Have
no.
you considered writing about buttons? Or
Yeah.
we've heard about these bloomers.
Oh my God.
Can we write about that?
And she was like, no, I want to be an investigative journalist. That's what's important to me. So
Mhm.
it was 1887. One of her coworkers actually found a note on Nellie's desk that said, I'm off for New York. Look out for me.
See ya.
See ya.
Mhm.
Bye.
Dude. I feel like in another version of life, that could have been me.
I was going to say, I was like, yeah.
Like
No.
there is a version of my life where I would have
I'm
been
off for
like,
New
I'm
York."
off for New York. Peace.
No, seriously. Like that
Mm.
could have been you for real.
For those of you that don't know, New York is one of my favorite places on the planet. I love New York City.
Yes.
Anyway.
But yeah, she actually went to New York and she started writing for a I almost said Democratic. Like I said it really weird, but Democratic newspaper called the New York World, and it was run by Joseph Pulitzer.
Like Pulitzer Prize.
Oh,
Mhm.
got you.
And usually people referred to the newspaper as just the World.
Oh, okay.
And it was funny because some of the articles I read, I got confused because I was like, the World? What? Oh, the
World.
newspaper,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
New York World.
Yeah, so she started writing for them, and she wanted more. She wanted to write about injustices of women, of people who were lower class, and people who were also mentally ill.
Well, and that newspaper was really, really popular, and it was like particularly known for like their sensational, like investigative pieces and things like
Really?
that.
Wow.
And she actually struggled a little bit in New York, from what I read. And sorry, I read your next line, and so I was going to add to it.
Yeah, please. That's what we're doing here. Yeah.
Because basically, one of the articles that I read, because I've read several articles that said that her editor gave her this as an assignment.
Yes.
But I've seen a lot of articles that actually also said that she was angry because they were kind of trying to do the same thing of like, why write about women and da-da-da. And she came in and was basically challenging her editor and being like, I'm going to quit if you're not, and so he threw it out as like a challenge to her. He's like, okay, go write about this. Go do an investigative piece about this
That
then.
makes sense.
And she was like, bitch, I will.
that makes sense.
And that's kind of how it went down. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
could see that actually.
Tell them about the
Totally.
badass thing she did.
So that idea that her editor threw out to her, I think, to kind of throw her off. I think that he, like you said, that would make sense.
He thought she was going to back down.
Yeah, I think.
And she didn't.
I got a cough.
So it now has a thing where I can mark the clip. So now I know where I need to go back and make an edit.
That's actually so helpful.
That is actually helpful. I do actually like that, Riverside. Good job.
Yeah. So the idea that he brought to her was reporting from inside an insane asylum.
Which, nowadays a psychiatric facility is not a place you really want to be.
Not at all.
Do you remember, like, we've known people who were in psychiatric facilities, and I remember we like going and visiting, and it's like the walls are just gray, and everybody just looks. I'm like, so you come here to get over depression, and this place is the most depressing place I've ever been. Like,
why don't we have like light, like natural sunlight coming in?
yeah,
That
we
would
have like windows. You can make them thick. Nobody
No,
can get out of them.
seriously.
Like,
Oh my gosh. But at the time especially.
no, at that time it was basically just a trash to like throw people into.
And it's like most of them were not even mentally ill, which it's like even if they were,
That's not how people.
that's not how
deserve
you
be
get to
treated.
be treated.
Well, and the
because
thing
of it.
is back then you could be thrown in an insane asylum for insane, like ridiculous things.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you have Down syndrome,
Oh
and
my
they would throw you in
gosh.
an asylum.
Oh my
For
gosh.
what?
Or women who didn't want to do certain things.
No. Yeah, like it quite commonly, like if a family was like, for example, a woman who wasn't conforming to society
Right, exactly.
would get diagnosed with hysteria
Oh my god.
and be thrown into an insane asylum.
and
Like it was a
these-
terrible place.
It was like they were just being tortured in there too.
Yes.
Like I don't really want to go too far into the details of it,
we
but,
can imagine.
but we can totally imagine how awful.
It's the kind of place where there's no oversight And
Nobody
people
cared.
do
Nobody cared.
and people do what people do when
Right.
nobody is watching them.
Right. Oh my gosh, it's
Yeah.
horrible. I can't even imagine how awful.
Absolutely
Not only did she
horrifying.
go into the insane asylum to report from inside, she actually pretended to be mentally ill
to get in because she didn't want to just go visit
She
the
wanted
asylum.
to experience
She wanted to
it.
experience it
Right.
and expose what she experienced.
Right.
Yeah.
And actually, before going in, she asked her editor one of her main concerns, like, well, how are you going to get me out?
Mhm.
And he's all, I don't know. If we have to expose you, we will, but we'll get you out. But
Well,
he didn't even know.
And it was so crazy, like what she ended up doing, because she took on like a fake name.
Yeah,
and
I
a
think
fake
it was
persona.
similar to what her name was. It was like, I forget. It had the same initials. It was NB.
Well,
I don't
and
know.
she pretended to be an immigrant from Cuba.
Oh.
And she got a room at a boarding house where she had never been. And she basically, like, she would stay up all night
Yes, I was gonna
wandering the
bring that up.
halls.
Yeah.
And she'd be like pulling her hair and all
Saying
this stuff,
things, yeah.
saying crazy things. Like, she just pretended to
Right.
be nuts. And
Right.
so they called the police, and she first went to Bellevue Hospital, which is very famous. And I think when she wrote about this later, she wrote about like that was a taste of the trauma to come.
Wow.
And then she got transferred to what was the asylum called? I forgot.
I don't know. It was on Blackwell's Island.
I think it was like the Blackwell Asylum
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
now known as Roosevelt Island. But
Mhm.
But yeah, and so speaking of, how she's concerned about how she's going to get out, because of course she's, they are like, you're mentally ill because of how she acted. When she got there, she's like, how am I going to get out? This is a quote from her later on. She says, the insane asylum on Blackwell's Island is a human rat trap. It's easy to get in, but once there, it's impossible to get out.
Mhm.
That's
Because
so
it was
scary.
never about like
No, reform. It was,
Yeah.
or that, not
Or
reform,
recovery.
Recovery. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean reform. But
yeah, like it was never about recovery.
like helping these people. No.
Yeah, no,
They don't want them to get better.
No, they don't. They just want them out of the way and out of society. It was a
Well-
way to imprison people without going through the legal system.
Right. And it's also like
Yeah.
something to say, we talk about a lot of these people that were there weren't even mentally ill. They probably became mentally ill after.
Oh no, she wrote about that.
Right.
She wrote about that, like there were people there that she
Yeah.
was like, yeah, no, they weren't mentally ill,
Right.
but they are now.
Right. That's so true. Okay.
Mhm.
So she pretended to be insane to get admitted there and see the conditions and report on them. One of the like main things that she reported on is like how overpopulated it was.
Mhm.
It was supposed to be like housing up to 1,000 patients, but there were at least 1,600 people reportedly being crammed in.
That's nuts.
That's insane.
That's what I'm saying. Like they use it as like a human dumpster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she was horrified. The food that they were given was rotten and moldy and
Mhm.
old.
She talked about being given like rancid meat,
Yeah.
which literally, like, it made me gag to read about because I can't imagine having to eat that.
And they made them eat it.
They would force feed them.
Yes, they
Yeah.
would be like, if you're not going to eat, they would be threatened with physical, and I want to do like a trigger warning, but they would also be threatened with sexual violence as
Mhm.
well if
Mhm.
they didn't
And they
eat.
lived under constant threat. of
Yes,
that.
they lived under
Yeah.
constant threat, and even the water was like visibly contaminated. Like you
Ugh.
could see it, and they were forced to drink that.
It's disgusting.
Literally disgusting.
Just
and then
torture.
And another thing was the building was freezing.
Mhm.
Nellie reported people were walking around like practically blue, and they were shivering, and they looked like they were like dead, and the staff was instructing these people to pace back and forth to warm themselves up.
It's insane.
Like, you guys can walk to warm up.
That's insane.
So I can't even imagine going through that. So yeah, Nellie experienced all of this treatment. She also was forced to have an ice bath when she first got there too. And patients, all of them were like forced to do this too.
Yeah, she wrote that they would like force them into an ice bath and then just leave them wet and shivering for hours.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What I had read was that they had like towels, like one towel that they would share amongst like 40, 60 people.
Well, and a lot of times they would just leave them. Like they would just leave them wet.
Oh my gosh. And like we're already talking about how cold this building is.
Mm-hmm.
That's awful.
It was just torture for the
It
sake
was
of torture.
Literally torture. And the people that worked there, I mean, I'm sure there were some people that maybe wanted to help, but like a lot of them were just cruel and torturing these people.
Just psychos. Yeah.
Yes. So she was horrified with this experience. She later on wrote an expose called 10 Days in a Madhouse. I actually I read part of it, and it was
Mhm.
really well written.
It's actually on Spotify. You can listen to it.
You can listen to it.
Mhm.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You guys should look into that.
Yeah.
But
She's
also
a
like
really good writer.
it was really dark. at several points. So just be prepared for that too, which
Mhm.
as you would assume.
Mm-hmm.
Here's another quote. This is a quote from 10 Days in a Madhouse, actually, the book that she wrote. So it says, "From the moment I entered the insane ward, I made no attempt to keep up the assumed role of insanity. I talked and acted just as I do in ordinary life. Yet, strange to say, the more sanely I talked and acted, the crazier I was thought to be by all except one physician whose kindness and gentle ways I shall not soon forget."
That's nuts.
That's so crazy because she's like, the more sane I acted, people just thought I was crazy. Oh
That's
my
wild.
gosh.
That's wild.
So people were honestly shocked when her expose came out. Like, I mean, it was published in the World. So people were reading about it and people were like, they were really shocked to hear about this treatment.
It was a huge deal.
It
And
was.
you know what's crazy? So then it actually did trigger, like, I think they said it was like a grand jury review
Mm-hmm.
of the insane asylum.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Obviously, because it had been published, the
Mhm.
asylum knew, and they literally cleaned the entire asylum from top to bottom.
Holy crap.
Completely cleaned up their act, ordered new food, all of this stuff, and they put on this really pretty face when it like came to be investigated. But shockingly, the grand jury didn't buy it.
Good. Oh my gosh. When do we ever hear about that, you
Because
guys?
like it would have they basically said that she was lying.
Yeah,
and
of
all this
course,
stuff.
right?
And I'm shocked
I'm
that they
so
took the
happy.
word of one woman
I'm so happy.
over them. And the other thing I wanted to say, because we didn't say it earlier, sorry, my nose itches. So if you guys can hear this on the microphone, I do apologize, but there's like a fuzz on the end of my nose.
Yeah.
Anyway, so one thing that we didn't cover is that she actually said not only that a lot of the people in the asylum were not insane
Right.
by any definition, a lot of them were immigrants
I
who
forgot.
didn't speak English.
I didn't forget. I'm sorry. I like literally didn't read that.
So a lot of them, a huge portion of them were immigrants who didn't speak English. So they were deemed to be insane because they couldn't speak English and they were thrown into the asylum. This was essentially a concentration camp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you guys, this is so hard to like really think about. And
Mhm.
this wasn't just, oh, this was only on Blackwell's Island. I mean, it was
These were all over the place.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this was very common. And like we said, even today, like mental institutions and stuff like aren't where you want to be. And like they really like they have upped, their care for them, but we need to come a long way.
Well, and there's still so much stigma because it's,
Right,
I
that's
have
so true.
several mental health concerns and stuff. And I think, you tell people what your diagnoses are and they're like, oh, and it's like, yeah. And I'm also a really cool person and I mostly function. So
mostly.
what's your problem?
Yeah, no, for real.
I mean, sometimes I get really sad and I stay in bed all weekend watching Grey's Anatomy, but who doesn't?
Who doesn't do that? No, for real. So yeah, it was a huge investigation. Nellie actually assisted with the investigation, and it led to major changes in New York City's Department of Public Charities and Corrections. So not just for, mental institutions, but, there's more funding for mental institutions. There was actual physicians that were coming to examine patients, and they were supervising the staff to make sure that they were doing their jobs right.
Yeah, they fired a whole bunch of people.
Good.
Like a lot of the crew.
Good.
And they actually brought in translators for the immigrants that didn't speak English. And honestly, there was one thing I was reading that said that Nellie's expose was in part what we have to thank for the fact that you have a legal right to a translator.
Wow.
And I mean, it's not the only thing that goes into that, but it kind of got the ball rolling on
right.
that.
And that's what, investigative journalism is so important because of that.
Exactly.
Because like we see, and this isn't the only thing, we see so many times in Nellie's life where she exposes things that ends up causing the snowball effect of reform. And it's so important. Like if she didn't go and expose and write about things, people wouldn't have known about it. Outcry wouldn't have come about. We see this today when we talk about how social media has changed so much and how people are now reporting about things that are going on in the world. And people are like, oh, we wouldn't have known this.
No, exactly. And and I also think like she's really, really, really to be commended for her bravery.
Yeah, right.
That like she didn't just go in; she went in. She was like, whatever they're experiencing, I'm going to experience.
Right. That's so true. And you know what? She was there for 10 days. She actually did get to be released by like her editor, and a lawyer actually had to come, and it was pretty hard to get her out, but they did get her out. She was there for 10 days. That's why it's called 10 Days in a Madhouse. But what an like incredible story that really got the ball rolling for reform for these institutions. So
Yeah, no, definitely.
yeah. And this is a quote for her as well after she did this. She said I could, and I would, and I did.
Damn.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm intimidated.
I know, right?
And I don't know if we said, but she was only 21 when she did this.
I didn't say that. I didn't know that. I didn't know how old she was when
She was
did
21
this.
years old when
Holy
she did this.
crap. That's insane, you guys. 21 is so young.
She is so powerful. Like, that's so cool.
And at the time period too, like it makes me feel like, wow, like so much that women did to pave the way for us, you know?
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
awesome. So she continued to investigate New York jails, factories, and she reported the mistreatment on the conditions that they were experiencing,
Mhm.
which is amazing.
She became one of the most well-known and respected investigative journalists of the time.
Wow. How
Yeah.
cool is that? She exposed male police officers abusing women.
Well, not enough because they're still doing it.
Absolutely.
Clearly
Absolutely. Corrupt politicians, clearly not enough as well.
not enough.
I don't think, politicians and corrupt, that just kind of goes hand in hand. But no, I'm kidding.
We need a reincarnation of Nellie Bly. We
I
need
love
her to come. I'm sure
her.
she's at peace, but I need her to come back.
I'm sure
I'm
she's
like,
I'm sure
ma'am.
she's at peace. Leave her alone.
No, but I'm like, would you mind coming back to Earth and just doing another round?
Elizabeth, please.
Just come do another turn.
Another turn. Well, an employment agency stealing from immigrants. So this is another way that she helped immigrants, because I didn't know that a lot of people were immigrants in the insane
Well,
asylum.
she was really passionate about that, and one of the
Wow.
things that I wonder about too, because she spent so much time in Mexico, she must have picked up Spanish.
Huh.
you know,
Yeah, that makes
and
sense. Duh.
and that's one of the things that really bothered her about the asylum, was that there were so many people there that, like, they were fine, they just didn't speak English.
That's so hard to see.
And
that's
that's
so
horrible.
hard
Like,
to
oh,
see.
you don't speak English, you're bugging me, go into an insane asylum.
Wow.
Like, or you could learn Spanish, bro.
Or just, go about your life.
Or
Weirdo.
yeah, or literally just go about your life.
Like, let them live their life and you can just live yours then. But
Like,
yeah.
damn.
So she also started writing articles at the time of several popular figures like Susan B. Anthony. We've talked about her. And
Mhm.
Emma Goldman. I actually don't know a lot about Emma Goldman. Do you?
Not off the top of my head, but I'm bad with names,
She's
so I wonder
very,
if I
very well
looked her
known.
up.
But
Yeah.
that was in 1893 that she did that. There were other journalists that were making, they were supporting activism at the time, and they were all known as muckrakers.
Okay.
So Nellie started becoming known as one of those too. But they were all a huge part in reform movements, like
I'm
we
sure.
talked about. You
No,
know
it's
what I mean?
so important. And I mean, we're still seeing that today, that journalists, especially journalists who are like on the ground in terrible situations, exposing what's really happening,
Yeah.
is so important.
Yeah, it
It's
really
so
is. And they're so
important.
brave. For
So
these people
brave.
who go and get into the actual place that it's happening, like how she did, it's so
Mhm.
important.
Well, I mean, journalists get murdered.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
like
they do.
people in power do not like being exposed.
Yes, that's 100%.
So like the
true.
bravery is insane, because like I'm impressed that Nellie Bly was never just disappeared.
Mhm.
You know, like
Yeah, that's so true.
she's very brave.
She really is. A lot of respect for her. So
Mhm.
at this time, Nellie was living. There was a popular book coming around called "Around the World in 80 Days."
Around the World in 80
Yes.
Days. Oh my god, I love the movie with Jackie Chan.
I haven't. I mean, we watched it as kids, but I don't remember it at all.
Well, we're spending the day together.
She's all, I know what we're gonna do.
Lunch date.
So this book is about the main character named Phileas Fogg, who actually travels the world in 80 days and
Mhm. Around the world in 80 days.
travels the world around the whatever.
It's not necessarily the same thing. He started from point A and ended back up in point A.
Okay. He traveled around the world. So, and she was like, I could do that, in
Yeah.
less time. She
Yeah.
was really intrigued by it. And this book was really popular. I mean, everybody, was talking about it. And so she actually brought an idea to her editor saying, she was like, why don't I travel the world in 75 days
Yeah.
and write about it? It'd be a pretty
Yeah.
cool story.
She was the original travel blogger.
Yeah!
Yo!
Oh my god, she did so much. At first, he didn't think it was a good idea. He was like, you only speak English. I guess she didn't speak Spanish, or maybe she knew some, but
Yeah.
he was like, you only speak English and you're a woman.
Oh
So
no,
how
not
are
a
you-
woman.
Yeah, no, this was actually one of the big reasons she wanted to do this was because she wanted to prove that women could travel, because at the time, of course, it's like women can't travel alone. How would they do that?
Yeah, women are not supposed to leave their house.
Right.
You walk to the supermarket, you pick up the kids at school, and you go home.
Right. And there is a stereotype of like, oh, they would need like 20 suitcases with all their makeup and hair and, you know, their stuff. How could they travel?
I'm pretty sure I packed lighter than our brother on our last trip. What?
Literally. No, like that was like a whole thing too, where they were like, how are you going to travel? Like,
I'm like, okay, 3-day trip, 3 pairs of leggings, 3 t-shirts, shampoo, soap, toothbrush,
this
little bit of makeup.
This was a little longer than 3 days, but yeah.
No, I know, but you know what I mean? I'm like, and I'm good. Like,
yeah. So he didn't think it was a good idea. And she was like, he was like, you need to take a man with you that can accompany you and help you with your luggage. And she was like, no, I don't need to do that, actually. She said, you can start the man and I'll start another news. Sorry. She said, you can start that man working for you and I will start working for another newspaper and beat him. So she was all, I'll go work for someone else and we can race.
Let's race around.
She literally said that. She's all, I'll race him if you want to hire a man.
Oh, I love her. Oh my God. We would have been friends.
Literally,
dude.
I love her. So it took actually like another year for this idea to become a reality. I don't know what. Oh, you know what did push him was that other people were talking about it. Other people were like, ooh, what if we sent out this journalist to go race around the world? And he was like, no. Nellie had that idea first. Nellie,
Nellie dear.
Nellie dear, remember that idea?
My idea, I mean.
Right. Yeah. So he was all, do you want to do this? And it was like 1889. He reached out to Nellie and he actually wanted her to leave in the next couple of days. He was all, we're going to do this now. Wow. So she agreed, accepting the challenge. She's like, okay, I got to get ready. Did. Right. That's the kind of person she was. Mm-hmm. So she actually got a dress tailored to make the trip. She brought a satchel. And she was determined to prove them wrong because she was like, people, like I said, they were really thinking, how could a woman travel with one suitcase? Just like watching.
Well, and back then, like, especially if she wasn't the type of girl to wear makeup, I'm like, you got a dress, you got some laundry detergent, you got a toothbrush and some shampoo.
It's not about it wasn't about that for her.
Like maybe one change of clothes and one extra pair of shoes and a book and a notebook.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
What else do you need?
Exactly. It didn't make any sense. So
that's crazy.
There was actually a reporter that was there when she was actually heading out when she was first leaving. And he was like, do you need help with your luggage? And she was like, my luggage is already abroad. Thank you. I boarded it myself. Or I brought it myself. She was
aboard?
Aboard. Yeah. Abroad. Sorry. She was all, I already put it on. Thanks. I did it by myself. And he was like, oh.
That's so funny.
So apparently she packed 2 traveling caps, 3 veils, a pair of slippers. And I like how she writes this. She said, a complete outfit for toilet articles. What does that mean?
It means like toiletries.
It's just cute. A complete outfit of toilet articles.
So like toothbrush, hairbrush, shampoo,
sure,
that kind of thing.
Inkstand, pens, copy paper, pencils, a needle and thread, a dressing gown, tennis blazer, a small flask and drinking cup. Several complete changes of underwear, a liberal supply of handkerchiefs, and I think I spelled that wrong. I don't know what that one was. And a jar of cold cream.
Fresh ruchings?
Yeah, I think I spelled something wrong.
I'm going to look that up. What is ruching?
I don't know.
That's probably something from the time period.
Yeah. Yeah. And then she also just had a jar of cold cream, she said, to keep her face from chapping in the varied climates I should encounter.
A pleated, fluted, or gathered strip of fabric used for trimming.
Interesting.
So it's like this? So like maybe if her dress got messed up or something, she could fix it.
That's interesting.
That's interesting, huh?
Yeah. So that's all she brought, literally.
Nice.
And she also had some money that they supplied for her from the world and some jewelry that she wore. She actually had a gold ring on her thumb that was like her lucky ring. Ooh. And she was like, I got this ring when I got the job at the world. And she was like, the 3 days that she didn't wear it, she had bad luck. So she's like, this is my lucky ring.
Nobody touches the lucky ring.
Yeah. I think that's funny because I kind of have stuff like that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So before she left, she actually wrote a will and sent it to her mother.
She learned from her
father.
I
was like, this is because of her father. Yeah. She's all, Mom, my stuff goes to you if anything happens, you know?
Yeah. It makes me wonder if there was some kind of situation of like seized by the state or something like, oh, he doesn't have a will. Now it's ours.
That's horrible.
I don't know. Because nowadays that doesn't really happen. It's like it goes to the next kid.
Yeah. But she told reporters that she had, quote, no qualms of fear. So she was like,
I'm sure she
I
doesn't
got
sound like
this.
somebody who experienced fear.
right? I know. I'm like, she's incredible.
I feel like she and the limping lady would have been good friends.
I know, right? I could see that too.
Yeah.
Totally. So it was November 14th, 1889, and the Augusta Victoria. It was a ship that left from Hoboken, New Jersey,
Mhm.
and it went down the Hudson River and out to the Atlantic. So that's how she started her journey.
Wouldn't that be cool though? Like traveling to Europe by ship.
Yeah.
I actually think that would be really neat.
Right? And you know, I wonder if I would get seasick. I don't know, maybe.
Well,
I
you
think I
didn't-
did
you-
get seasick when
did
I was a
you?
kid when we went.
I don't think you did.
I did. I remember. I was.
but
throwing
there's
up.
medicines for it.
That's true. That's true.
So
So
I never got seasick when we were on the cruise when we were little.
Nellie experienced it at first. Like the
Mm.
first day or two, she was like, "Ooh," but she got over it pretty quick.
Of course she did. She's got a stomach
she-
of steel.
Literally, she was like, "I got things to do."
I don't have time to be sick.
Yeah, that sounds like her. So she had a goal to complete her trip in 75 days.
Mhm.
And during the trip, there was actually other people who were interested in racing her. And one of them was actually another young journalist named Elizabeth Bisland. So Elizabeth and Elizabeth.
Uh-huh.
And Elizabeth Bisland was 28 and she worked for the Cosmopolitan. And the owner of the Cosmo magazine actually sent Elizabeth shortly after Nellie left. And he brought the idea to her. He was like, "How about you go out and race her?" And she was like, "What? No."
Oh no.
She didn't even want to. It was kind of, but she did. She took the challenge too, kind of like Nellie did. I think it'd be interesting to study Elizabeth Bisland because that's pretty cool that she did that too.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was actually Nellie didn't even know. She was like on the ship, like she had no clue that this other person was racing her. But it was being reported in newspapers and it was like this huge thing. Like everyone was like, "Will Elizabeth or Nellie win?" You know what I mean?
Mhm. Well, and the world was like playing this up like crazy.
Right.
Like they used it as this huge publicity thing.
It really was.
Mm-hmm.
But Elizabeth Bisland was actually also working to support her struggling family, kind of similar to how Nellie was.
Mm-hmm.
She started writing through poetry and she had a very elegant writing style, is what I read about her.
Friends.
Right?
I'd love to hang out with these women.
No, it was actually sad how I read about how she got kind of talked into it. So Elizabeth was asked by Walker, who was the owner of the Cosmo,
Mm-hmm.
and he was like, "Are you willing to race Nellie across the world?" At first she said no, thought it was a joke, and they argued about it reportedly for an hour until she was like, "Okay, I'll do it." That's
Damn, poor
yeah,
thing.
I know. I feel bad for her. She only had hours to prepare and then was sent to Chicago to start her journey, and she went west while Nellie went east. So
Oh,
yeah.
it's interesting.
It is interesting. So there's like so much information about both of their journeys that you guys could read about too. I just got like some bullet points about it, so we'll kind of go through that. Let's see. So the first day on the ship, like I said, Nellie did get seasick and she was recovering. And then after a while, she was just kind of enjoying the commodities on board. So
I wonder if someone would sponsor us to go around. the world
right,
for
we'll
80 days.
report about it.
We'll
do a
report about it
podcast.
every day.
Wouldn't you guys like to see the ocean behind us?
Wouldn't you like to see us travel around the world in 80 days? And maybe it's not as cool with planes now, but what if we did it with no planes?
Right, like
Like,
the same
planes aren't
thing.
allowed.
Yeah.
That
Right.
would be cool.
That
Let's
would
go.
be cool. I would like to do that. If you guys would like to sponsor that, we would. be
Yeah, you
interested.
guys have a rich friend who wants to sponsor a cool 80 days around the world trip. We'll do
Let
it.
me know.
Sisters around the world.
Sisters around the world. Oh my gosh. That makes me think of the sisterhood of the traveling. Anyway.
Okay, bestie energy around the world. Oh my god, we could like interview people
Is that what that
and
is?
be like bestie energy around the world.
No, that would be so cool.
Okay, this is an official goal of the Bestie Energy podcast.
Dude, that actually would be so cool if
to
we
do
like,
Bestie Energy around the world.
and then we could like introduce, like we could meet Jadav Payeng. Holy crap. Okay.
This needs to be a thing.
Dude, I want to go meet Jadav Payeng.
Make it blow up.
Please. Yeah, that's so cool. Oh my god, I want to meet Jadav.
I would be so happy.
Oh my god, I don't even speak his language. It's okay. We'll bring a translator.
I'll just be like, and he'll understand.
He'll be like, yes.
We could
yes.
bring him a cottonwood tree in a pot.
He's like,
Oh shit.
no. Yeah, you got to get that out of there.
We could bring him a tree in a pot, like a little potted tree, and just be like,
He'll
we
be
would
like,
like to
"You're
gift you a tree.
He's like, that one goes over here.
Well, because you don't want to introduce foreign species.
No, yeah, you don't. Definitely.
Mhm.
Okay. So the Augusta Victoria, which was the ship she was originally on, it was
Nelly.
like, yeah, Nellie. That's what
Okay.
I'm talking about. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah,
Nellie.
we're switching back to Nelly now.
It was very fancy for the time. It had fancy dining rooms, statues, and it had a Gothic smoking room. I want to see that. a gothic
Keep
smoking
talking.
room.
I'm gonna look it up.
There's also a piano player that was on board while guests were eating dinner. And she actually made some friends on board while she was traveling, including the ship's captain, who she came to like. And then after 8 days of crossing the Atlantic, Nellie arrived it was around like by London, where she was invited by the author.
This is the
she
actual
found
one
it.
from the ship.
That's so cool.
It's pretty. It's like wooden, like think Titanic. It's like
Yeah.
wooden paneled,
Yeah.
and it has these like really fancy, elaborate, like carved out booths and seats.
That's beautiful.
Dude, why don't we make anything that pretty
I
anymore?
know, because of capitalism, but
Well, and beige.
right, I know.
Kardashians started beige,
No,
and now everything is
modernized?
beige.
Like everything that's been modernized, like all the buildings look more boring now. Yeah.
So boring. Anyway, sorry, you were saying.
So when she arrived near London, it was 8 days after crossing the Atlantic. She was actually invited by the author of Around the World in 80 Days, named Jules Verne, to come and meet him and his wife.
That's cool.
Right? Because he was like
That's
hearing
neat.
about this, and he was like, "Oh, that's cool. That's after my book, you know."
Yeah.
That's so cool. So he invited her. Nellie was so excited, and her editor was like, "This isn't a good idea. You're trying to race. Like, you don't have time to make stops." And Nellie was like, "I'm gonna make time."
I can just hear him being like,
Listen.
"We don't have time for small talk."
And Nellie's like, "I will make time. I'm gonna do this." And so she like didn't get any sleep because she was like rushing to get here to do it,
Mhm.
But she traveled by ferry and trains, and she actually got to go meet him. And she described him as a short, kind man with kind eyes and a full beard. And he said she showed her around his home, asked her about her journey. Even though they didn't speak the same language, they communicated through a translator.
Mhm.
And they actually compared her travel plans next to like the character in the book.
Oh, nice.
Isn't that
Very
cool?
nice.
So Verne, who is the author, he was intrigued by Nellie's independence and her drive, and like they just kind of had a nice, conversation. So
Oh, that would be really neat.
right, I
That's
think
really
so too.
cool.
So
Yeah.
then after that, Nellie took a train to Italy, and she slept the whole way because she was like, "I'm done. This is exhausting."
No, but that's smart though. Like if you're traveling the world and having
Train.
to do it fast,
Yeah.
like sleep when you travel.
right.
That's smart.
so
Yeah.
smart. So yeah, she slept on a train, got to Italy, and she spent some time there. And then the same ship, the Augusta Victoria, took her to Egypt next.
Ooh.
Isn't that cool? So this is actually where she was kind of nervous to travel because she was more familiar with, going to France and Italy. Like it was kind of more culturally similar to what she was used to.
Mhm.
And at this time, there were a lot of stereotypes about the East, like the Eastern part of the world being more like.
At that time, I feel like there's
I know.
still a lot of
No,
stereotypes.
that's so true. But even then, it was
Yeah.
way worse. So at this,
Mhm.
like Nellie going that way, she was kind of nervous because she was like, of
Yeah.
course, like these stereotypes that she's been raised with. She's like, oh.
Well, and I
I
think
don't
it's not just the stereotypes. I do think there's something to be said for like a culture that's much less similar to your own.
Right.
Because I would be less nervous to go to London than I would be to go to Beijing.
Right.
You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
So
And
I
it's
think that's
not
something to
because
be
I
said.
have like a bad opinion.
Right.
It's because I'd be so scared that I'd be like offend somebody because I
Right.
don't know the ways.
Exactly.
You know what
So
I
Nellie
mean?
was really nervous when she got like towards Egypt
Yeah.
and going that way. She was like, wait, this is going to be more unfamiliar to me. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So then, but like the whole trip that she did, it was all part of the British Empire.
Ew.
Yeah. Yeah.
That made my stomach feel weird.
Yeah, I know. So yeah. So after visiting Egypt, the ocean liner went through the strait that was between Africa and like Arabia, and it went to east to Aden, which was like in Yemen. So she visited Yemen.
We have friends from
yeah,
Yemen.
we do. I know. I was
They
like,
are
that's
cool.
And Nellie described, she actually thought Aden was beautiful, and she described the large mountains. That was the first thing that she saw. But it was actually, what she was describing was a dormant volcano.
Oh dear.
Yeah, she saw these beautiful large mountains. They're like, that's a volcano.
So that's a volcano.
I just thought that was kind of funny.
That is funny.
They were actually like the passengers on the boat. They were warned not to visit ashore on Aden because of the extreme heat. But Nellie was like, "Watch me." She's all,
Yeah.
"Let's
She's
go,
like,
guys."
people live here. We aren't gonna
Literally, she was like, "Come on, guys, let's go." So her and a couple passengers decided to go like travel around for a little bit, and then they continued on the ship. And then now they were nonstop traveling. At this point that she's been leaving Aden, she's been traveling for nonstop over a month.
Oy.
That's awful.
Like,
Isn't that like exhausting?
that's so exhausting. Like
Traveling
you and
is
me, I think we
exhausting.
both like get so
We
exhausted
do.
from traveling.
We do.
And
Even
I
1
think we
week.
just kind of are just like,
Yeah.
I am ready to go back to my house and not talk
Right.
to anybody for a
No,
month.
I don't know how she was doing this for like 3 months. I'm like, dang.
Dang.
So
Oh,
she
yeah,
wanted
80 days is almost 3 months.
Yeah. So like 3 months. So
Mm-hmm.
she wanted a break, and her next stop would be Colombo, which is now Sri Lanka. And it was very different from Aden, but Nellie was like in love with it. It was so beautiful.
I bet.
Yeah. And she loved the surroundings. And she was actually like drinking tea at the hotel she stayed at, visiting the beach. After a brief stay here, Nellie boarded on the Oriental. So she got onto another boat to cross the Indian Ocean. So like
Okay.
you can see how many boats like she went on, trains, like all kinds of stuff. It was pretty cool.
No, definitely. Also, I think it's funny that she was more nervous about this part of the world, but that this was the first time she was really, really enjoying herself.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was like, wait, this is so beautiful.
Wait, this place rocks.
Yeah. Like she
Yeah.
was really loving it. So the new boat, the Oriental, was smaller than the old one she was on, but it was a lot more comfortable to Nellie. So she really enjoyed
That's
this one.
interesting.
And next she arrived to the island of Penang. Did I say that right?
I don't know.
Of the Malay Peninsula.
Okay.
But she actually only had 6 hours to enjoy the island. So you can see kind of how fast she's going through everything.
Well, yeah, because she's racing.
Right. I know. Well, I know, but it's kind of like, dang, I wouldn't, like we just said we would want to do something like this, but I'm like, I would want to kind of enjoy it more, you know?
Oh, yeah, no, definitely. That would be really cool.
Oh, I got the beach mixed up with, not Sri Lanka. What was it called? Colombo? Because this is where she started visiting the beach. So while she's here, there was like botanical gardens. There was a
Mhm.
waterfall that was beautiful that she got to write about and visit. So yeah, I'm like, do you have anything to add here that you kind of read about? Did you read
Not-
anything about her journey?
Not really. Like it, I was just kind of more reading about like she's sending writing back, and that the
Oh,
newspaper
okay.
was really, really playing it up. But
Yeah,
I didn't really get like the
Yeah.
details of her journey.
there's so many details. Like what I wrote was literally like bullet points because I was like, this is so much information.
Mm-hmm.
So she noted that both Singapore and Penang had both like different cultural diversity that she's never seen before. So she
Mhm.
loved that actually. She was like, this is so cool.
No, from what I've seen of Singapore, like in movies and TV shows and stuff, it's somewhere I want to visit.
Same. It
Yeah.
looks so nice.
It looks like
yeah.
a cool place.
Yeah. Okay, this part I was like, wait, what? I need to actually look it up and figure out what happened. Because wait. So on her way back to the Oriental, Nellie saw a monkey and literally was like, oh, cute monkey, come with me, and just like kidnapped it.
She just kidnapped
She
the
just
monkey.
took the monkey, bro, and the monkey went back to her like to New
Well, because
York.
back then that was like a thing to have like a monkey as a pet.
Really?
Yeah, it was like an oddity. It was like but geez, that poor
I
thing had
know.
a family. What are you doing?
Dude, I know that part. I was like, wait, what? So apparently,
Monkeys are very social creatures. They
Literally.
have they have family groups and shit. Don't just
Literally.
don't just be snatching monkeys.
that's what I'm saying. I did not. That was not bestie. Come on, Nellie.
Excuse me.
And so I guess she saw this monkey like in a doorway, like just walking around, and she was like, "Hey, come with me."
Well, and if it's in a doorway, maybe it was already someone's pet.
Oh no, it was like the doorway of like I guess she was going with her somebody that she was with.
Mhm.
They were driving to go back to the ship, and they made a stop somewhere, and he like ran inside, and then she saw a monkey right there.
Oh,
and
I
was
see.
like,
Well,
Come
I
with me.
just I
Yeah.
was gonna say because like it's one of my pet peeves that like people will just like see a cat and be like, it's mine.
right. I don't
is
like
it-
that.
Is it though?
Right. So yeah, so many cats too are just like people's cats, but they wander around, you know?
Yeah.
So she named the She named the monkey McGinty.
Oh, it's cute.
And yeah, like I said, it traveled with Nellie back to New York. I need to actually look it up and figure out what happened to this monkey because I don't know.
Mhm.
I really don't. But it's weird. Anyway.
Well, and it's interesting that she was able to take it with her. 'cause,
Yeah,
like,
what
now,
are we doing? You
Now
can't
we
be
have
doing
like
that.
really specific rules about animals and pets, and she's just like,
As you do.
I just have a monkey now.
So weird. Okay, yeah. So then next she went to Hong Kong and she found out the whole time here that she had been racing Elizabeth Bisland. Someone told her there, they were like, oh, you're on that race. And she's like,
I'm
Yeah.
on a race.
who am I racing? Yeah.
Who?
But you know how I said Elizabeth actually, what?
Who?
Ho? Ho?
There's a TikToker we like that. It's
That one's so
It's
funny.
funny.
But people in Hong Kong were like, Elizabeth Bisland was actually already here a couple days ago, so you already lost the race.
No, it's because she's going the other way, you
Exactly.
dingbats.
But they did it like
Stupid.
Nellie didn't know that, so like Nellie was like, "Shit, I
Stupid.
lost."
Well, and if they're going the opposite directions, then she's winning.
She's
Because
winning.
like
Exactly.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
Nellie wasn't like winning, but she didn't know.
1 second. You keep sniffing really loudly.
Okay, can I?
Yeah. There you go.
Thank you. Okay.
I was just like, I didn't want you listening back to the episode and hearing like, and I was like,
Sorry.
no, don't be sorry. It was just funny.
So yeah, Nellie literally thought she lost the race at this point, but she's actually ahead, which is kind of crazy.
That's so funny.
But she had a good attitude about it. So she thought she lost, but she was like, whatever, I'm just going to enjoy Hong Kong anyway. I'm here. I'm going to have fun. So one of the things that she did there was she took a tram up to the top of Victoria Peak and saw the city. And she described it as being between two heavens.
Oh,
Isn't that pretty?
wow.
Yeah. So the beauty of the scenery here also pretty much gave Nellie the encouragement of like, I don't have to win this race. She was like, I said I would do it in 75 days and I will. And it doesn't really
Nice.
matter if I win or not.
I like her.
So yeah, she pretty much just enjoyed her trip. And then next she boarded the RMS Oceanic to Yokohama. How do you say that? Yokohama?
I think that's how you say that. It's
Yeah.
in Japan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it was on December 28th.
Ooh,
So
cold.
she stayed in Japan for a week waiting for her next boat and she fell in love with Japan. So yeah, you're right. Like when she got to the eastern part, she was so nervous, but she like loved it.
Well, I'm just saying, people in the eastern part of the world know how to do life in like
Mhm.
ways
She loved
that
the
we don't in
culture.
the
Yeah,
West.
right. 100%.
Not gonna lie, like there is something to be said for like the community
Mhm.
oriented culture. Like I
Yeah.
don't know.
I agree.
I would
So-
love to visit the East if anybody
Wink, wink.
wants to send us.
Seriously, though.
I would be very happy to
Just
try
hint, hint.
authentic ramen in Japan.
Oh, yeah. So,
Anyway.
yeah, she loved the culture there, the views, the people, everything. And she actually was invited with a couple of passengers on the boat to a geisha's house. And there was like music and dancing.
Did you see? So there's like that famous street that's like a geisha street in
No.
Japan. So the thing that's a problem is that like the whole concept of geisha is like a thing that we don't have. Like people in the West think that geisha are just like prostitutes or something like that.
Yeah, that's so true.
And they're not. Like
That's
it's
very
it's a
true.
whole thing. And this was one of my hyper focuses when I was in high school,
I
so I
know.
learned a lot about it. But no, it's really sad because there's this whole street that's like dedicated to geisha, and I don't remember what the street is called, but they've actually closed it to foreigners because
Oh.
apparently people can't act right. Like they'll just show up and they'll just be like harassing the geisha and stuff and just being like really obnoxious, and they've made it to where it's closed. Like they're like,
Good
you
for
can't,
that.
if you're
Like,
not
good for
from
them.
Japan, you don't get to come here.
Honestly, like I'm glad that they are respecting the geisha and like making sure that they're like safe. But I'm like, really?
Well, and I also like that it's like
Come
you
on.
can't act right,
Yeah.
you don't get access to
I love
this.
that too because I'm like,
Like
people don't
preserve
have an
your culture.
understanding. Yes.
Yes.
That's really upsetting.
No, it's horrible.
So Nellie actually described Japan as the land of love, beauty, poetry, and cleanliness. Yeah, I'm like, that's cool. Japan, I know, like, I mean, we talked about Japan before, but Japan definitely is beautiful.
From the pictures I've seen, yeah,
Yeah.
really pretty.
So next, Nellie left Japan and she boarded the RMS Oceanic and returned home finally. So,
That must have been
She-
a long ride.
right? And to kind of like go over all the bullet points and see where she went is crazy. So,
Mm-hmm.
then she made it to the US on January 21st to San Francisco.
Nice.
And she completed her journey and she ended up going back to New York and it was 72 days. So she did it faster.
Well, so here's
than
what's funny.
75.
So when she got back to San Francisco, they actually had a special train just for her to like take her
Wow.
all the way across the country back to New York.
that's so cool.
Because and they did it this and they were smart to do it
Wow.
this way.
Mhm.
Because the one that Cosmo sending Elizabeth to go west to east,
Mhm.
like to go east, I mean, instead of the way that Nellie did, wasn't very smart, because the way that Nellie did it, now, her story is sensational. People have been following it for 2 months. So when she came home to the States, everybody's been reading about this. Everybody knows about it. And now she's going across the country.
Yeah, no, you're
And so
so right.
everybody's like, it's Nellie!
She
Oh
made
my
it
God!
home.
And so they literally had a special train just for her
So smart.
to take her all the way across the United States. And so every town that she was going through and stuff, people were gathering gathered to like watch her go by.
Wow.
And so
she
there
was
were
so
like,
famous, you guys.
Yeah, and so she said like they were writing that like there were jazz bands and stuff,
my
like people were playing
gosh.
music for her. She's like the Queen of England traveling across the country, and everybody's
What a
like,
cool moment.
"It's Nelly!" And so I think that was so much smarter do it that
I
way.
agree with you.
because
That's a
then
really
by the
good
time she
point.
gets back, everybody's like, "Oh my god, it's her!"
That's so cool, you guys. I actually
Yeah.
love that. So imagine going around the entire world in 72 days, though.
I'm tired.
Yeah, I would feel. I was tired reading about it.
So-
And that
so
sounds bad, but I was
what if-
reading about it and I was like, dang.
What if we did do Bestie Energy around the world in 80 days and we did allow planes, but then that would allow us time to like relax a little. But I also like there's something to be said that I think is cool about like traveling across the country on
On
a
a
train.
boat or a train.
Yeah, going across the ocean on a boat, something like
kind
that.
of like taking your time through it.
Yeah,
I agree with
I don't know. We'll have to. We're gonna do this at some point. I'm manifesting it.
Because you know what, we have been manifesting traveling for so long.
Yeah.
So Elizabeth Bisland's trip took 76 days. So I mean, she also completed her goal because I'm like, they both wanted to go under 80 days.
Well, Nelly wanted to
Nelly-
go under 75.
Right, of course. But you know, the original book was around the world in 80 days. But
Mhm.
so Nelly did it in 72 and Elizabeth Bisland did it in 76. But Nelly did win the race. And despite all of the fame, Nelly did not get a bonus or a pay increase at her job.
What?
Nope.
Oh, stupid.
Yeah, dude. I know.
Jerks. Maybe they were like, "Oh, the trip was the bonus."
Right. They're like, you
But
got lots of experience.
still,
Yeah, I can't believe that.
especially because it was so sensational and everybody loved it.
That's what's upsetting. Is I'm like,
Like-
do you know how much like focus that she gave the world, like the paper? Come on,
give her a cut.
give her a cut. So today,
Ridiculous.
this trip can be completed by plane in 36 hours.
Nah. Okay, so we do it no planes.
Yeah, 36 hours, and then the International Space Station orbits the Earth in 90 minutes.
Okay, but they're not like
I know,
in the
I know, but to
atmosphere,
put it
so
into
it doesn't
perspective-
count.
It doesn't count, but to put that into perspective, so planes do it in 36 hours. It's freaking crazy.
That's wild.
So it was 1895, and Nellie actually got married.
Yeah,
Yeah, to Robert Seaman.
Hmm.
Can we?
it's an unfortunate last name.
No, her name is Elizabeth Cochran Seaman though. Anyway, okay.
I could never introduce myself with a straight face. Oh, what's your name? Hi, I'm Clark Seaman.
No, Cochran Seaman, because she hyphenated.
She hyphenated.
That's what I'm saying. She did Cochran Seaman. I'm sorry.
Also, I totally just realized that I completely insulted everybody with the last name Seaman. I'm sorry. It is funny though.
Come on, it's kind of funny.
It is kind of, listen, the name that I grew up with as a last name was also inappropriate.
Yes, it
so
was. So
I feel like I can.
we can.
But no, but
That's
like,
funny.
oh no.
Yeah, I know. I thought that was a
Why
funny Cochran
would-
Seaman.
Why would you hyphenate that? And what? Did they name their son Dick?
Richard. Okay, it was Richard.
Can you imagine being like, "Hi, I'm Dick Seaman."
I'm Dick Cochran Seaman. Oh my god, shut up.
I'm sorry, Mom.
I know, we're being
I'm
so
sorry,
immature right now. It's so funny.
Mom's listening to this and just being like,
Rolling
"I
eyes.
raised these daughters."
Nah, she thinks it's funny. She's just as dirty-minded. It's fine.
You're
The woman thinks it's funny. Come on, she would laugh at that.
gonna get a phone call.
Oh yeah, no, it's fine. She's all, what?
You're gonna get a phone call after this episode. I will not save you from this.
That's fine. Okay, Robert Seaman, you guys, very professional man. It's not funny. So stop.
I'm not laughing.
He was a millionaire. See, are you laughing now? He was
No.
a millionaire industrialist. So she
So wait,
married him.
Da. She spent her whole life bringing down the man, and then she married the man.
I know, kind of, huh?
Girl,
No, but, oh my god. Okay, shut up.
I'm disappointed.
But so she retired from journalism after marrying him, but she enjoyed all
Damn
like
straight, she retired.
right. By all accounts, she enjoyed a happy marriage and a happy life with him. He did die in 1904. So, and then Nellie took over his manufacturing company. So now she's like president of this company.
Ah,
So that's pretty cool.
I see the vision. I see the plan.
Right.
Nicely done.
And she actually becomes an inventor. So she manufactured the first 55-gallon steel oil drum that's still used today.
Oh, those big old
Mhm.
nice.
She invented it.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, also this is really okay.
Wait a minute though. Wait. Just really quick. It is cool that she invented that, but like, she spent her whole life bringing down the man, only to get into the big oil business.
Can you let me finish? Because I was about to say something else. It's empty. Listen, this is important because one of her biggest like things that she did for the company was to make sure to take care of all of her workers, unlike anybody else. So she made sure they had healthcare, access to a gym and a library, and I already said healthcare. But yeah, what are you looking at me like that for? Because I'm like, you're saying she married the man, but clearly she's still working for the people.
I was making a joke about her
okay.
working for oil. Dang.
Oh, we're working for oil. Because no, for real, that's so true though. It's kind of ironic. And then she stole a
finish. Okay.
Don't bring Nellie down. We can talk about her stealing a monkey, but leave her alone. She literally invented this. Okay.
We're gonna both tell the story today. Can you let me finish?
I'm not done.
Okay, I'm just gonna sit quietly and drink my
No,
juice.
you're not. Stop it. Stop being dramatic. Are you done?
Tell your fucking story.
Girl! You got big mad about that.
I did not.
Guys, again, so she made sure that the people that were working for her, because she's the president now, that they had healthcare, access to a gym and library.
And like none of that was a thing back
No,
then. Like
that's
benefits
pretty
were not a
freaking
thing.
cool.
So that's really cool.
But unfortunately, this is like, oh, it's so upsetting. This is like what was the main reason she wasn't able to keep up with her finances. And so she ended up like losing a lot of money, and she actually had to go back to journalism in 1920. But she started working for the New York Evening Journal, writing about women's suffrage, which is pretty cool. So here's a quote from her as well. It says, "I have never written a word that didn't come straight from my heart."
Oh, I love that.
This is something, Clark, I wrote down for you because she wrote this and I was like, that reminds me of Clark. It says, "I do not believe that any writer ever fully expects or appreciates the value of their own work."
It's true. It's true.
And I love that because you know what, Nellie, we are sitting here talking about how amazing she was, but I don't think she knew that.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm talking about Clark is a writer, you guys. I love to write,
do be writing.
but Clark has written books, stories. She's got great ideas, and she's coming out with a book you guys should look into also.
I am indeed coming out with a book.
Not just one.
Yeah, I have a serious novel that I'm working on, and then I
Not
write
a serious one.
spicy romances on the side. Sorry, Mom, you're not allowed to read those ones. I'm apologizing to our mother a lot in this episode.
No, it's like, you remember those books she used to read with the like,
Oh my God,
with the like picture on the front of like
with the sailor,
yeah,
that's, like,
with,
and
like,
his
the
hair is
hair.
flowing in the wind.
So I'm like, she's read some spicy books.
She's read some stuff. Oh my gosh, we're both getting phone calls.
Yeah, we are. She's
we're
like,
gonna
stop talking about me.
No, she's gonna call us and be like, "What do you mean? I don't have a dirty mind." She does not have a dirty mind, guys. Our mother is like pure all the way through.
That's true.
It is true.
Yeah.
She's one of the
Yeah.
purest souls that I know.
She is. She's such a
She is a sweetheart.
She is. Did you read this about Nellie? Because I did all of this reporting. Stop reading off of my screen.
It helps me.
I did all of this reporting and then found out she also was one of the first women to report from the trenches in World War One in
Yes.
the Eastern Front.
Yes, she did.
What?
I'm telling you, she and the Limping Lady would have been friends. I honestly, listening to this story, I'm like, what if the Limping Lady was like a reincarnation of Nellie? But then she was born in the 1910s. So,
you're right.
So she can't be a reincarnation. But like, they had a lot of life.
Cool. I know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, when I read that, I was like, she just didn't stop.
She just didn't. She did not feel fear. Like she literally was just like, "Oh, this is terrifying and dangerous."
She's like, "I'm gonna go report about it."
Yeah.
So she wrote multiple books. There was one called 6 Months in Mexico, which kind of describes itself. 10 Days in a Madhouse, which we've talked about, and then one called Around the World in 72 Days.
Yeah.
So you can also like, these are books you guys can find. You guys can go read them and like hear her story.
For at least the 10 Days in a Madhouse is on Spotify.
Yeah, freaking
go
amazing.
listen to it.
So she actually did die in 1922 from pneumonia, but she lived a very long life.
I literally had pneumonia last week.
Did you?
Yeah, remember I had
Oh, you're
pneumonia?
right. You told me.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I literally had
We
pneumonia
both got like
last week.
super sick, and like we were sick for like 3 weeks.
I feel like every time we get sick these days, we get sick for like 2-3 weeks.
No, I know, it's horrible.
So when you see that our episodes are late or something, it's because I got sick. I'm sorry.
yeah, and then like we pick up everything. When she gets sick, I get sick. When I get sick, she gets sick.
It's horrible.
We don't even have to see each other.
No, literally.
Like, I
it's
swear
so
we just
weird.
get sick.
Like, I'll just be texting her and she's like, I'm sick. And I'm like, so am I. And I'm like, how did it's part of the psychic connection. It transmits viruses.
Like,
what
sure.
the hell?
I'm feeling depressed today. Me too. Off.
No, we are literally so in tune. It's creepy. Like, I'll be like,
Yes.
hey, I was thinking about watching this really obscure movie. And she'll be like,
Dude,
what
we did that
are
with,
you talking
with
about?
freaking Coraline.
Yeah, I was like, hey, how would you feel about watching Coraline? It's neither of our favorite movie or anything like
It
that.
freaked me out because I was like, I just literally watched that this week because I was like, oh, I really want to watch Coraline.
And like that's not one of those movies that like we watch a
No,
lot.
it's not.
So
Okay.
it was weird.
Anyway.
Anyway.
So she did die in 1922, but she was honored after her death. So she was actually honored by a newspaper editor named Arthur Brisbane as the best reporter in America.
That's so cool.
Isn't that cool?
What a bamf.
Right? And then as of 2021, the corner tip of Roosevelt Island, which used to be Blackwell's Island, there's now a sculpture honoring Nellie called The Girl Puzzle by Amanda Matthews. And you can look up like pictures of it. And, like at first glance, I was like, oh, that's cool. But there's actually a website where it explains the art and like explains what it means. And I have a quote from it and it's so cool. So it says, "The Girl Puzzle honors Nellie Bly by representing faces of many women who have endured hardship but are stronger for it. The monument gives visibility to Asian, Black, young, old, immigrant, and queer women. Their stories and lives are forever commemorated alongside Nellie Bly, whose face is cast in silver bronze. And the other faces, there's 4 other faces, they're cast in bronze, each showing the depth of emotion and complexity of being broken and repaired."
I love that.
Isn't that so cool?
That is really cool.
So that's a whole piece that's still like, it came up in 2021. It's still there. You can go see it on Roosevelt Island. And I think it's beautiful. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Quite a story.
I know. And I'm like, I cannot believe we did the same person.
No, I know. When I saw it pop up on your screen, I was like, excuse me.
You're like, wait, what? Investigative journalist.
Nellie Bly.
So interesting. So yeah, I think.
Is there anything in that?
Nope.
Okay.
So I think that was so frustrating. Oh, Lana.
You literally, dead desk was just like,
I just knocked
everything off the desk.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, no, that was a good episode, even though
No,
we kind of
that's
told
good.
it together. I was just disappointed because I like seeing your reactions to things.
No, I know. I get it. And it was interesting because it's like, I'd be trying to like cut in with stuff and you're like, I'm talking.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be like that.
No, I know you weren't, but it's a different dynamic for us because we're used to like,
I know. And
I'm
then
telling the story.
And then I'm like, stop reading off my screen. But I'm like, you literally know the whole story anyway.
Well, no, and I was reading because I wanted to see if there was like places I wanted to add or anything, or if you were already going to say it,
Yeah.
So, but no, what a cool thing. And honestly, I think we should start this thing on social media that like we want to do Bestie Energy around the world.
Yeah, like interviewing people.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be cool?
That would be so cool.
Like talking about
Let's
like
do
the
it.
things that they've done to make a difference and how they've impacted other people's lives. Because I think like really the snowball effect is so real. Like when you spread joy and you spread positivity in your life, spread love, it goes so far.
It does. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. So we can spread it further.
We can.
And we would
Bestie
like
Energy
to.
around the world. Let's do it.
Yeah. So
So anyway, join the Patreon, join the community, come chat with us, have a fun time. Yeah,
thanks for listening.
definitely.
Thanks for
And
joining
sorry,
us.
Mom. Sorry, Mom.
Sorry, Mom.
There was a lot that we apologize.
Well, she's fine.
She's fine. You're getting a phone call.
All right.
Love
Peace,
you, besties.
besties.
Bye.